Hi, everyone. Thank you for attending our webinar today, hosted by the No Better World Foundation. The theme of today's webinar, how women are going to get us through these incredible times. With no further ado, I would like to introduce our speaker today. Our speaker is Francis Cholle. Francis is an international business consultant, best-selling author, and also an engaging speaker. He is the author of The Intuitive Compass, a best-selling book. He has helped companies rethink business in ways that conventional strategic management cannot. Some of his clients include companies such as Apple, Johnson & Johnson, Estee Lauder, L'Oreal, Louis Vuitton, and Ralph Lauren, among others. He also lectures at Wharton and Columbia Business School. Francis has put his knowledge and experience to the benefit of others, and especially women entrepreneurs. He's the founder of the No Better World Foundation. The No Better World Foundation helps women become the entrepreneurs of their lives and actualize their full potential for an innovative and better sustainable future. With that being said, it's my pleasure to introduce Francis Cholle. Francis, you have the floor. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Samuel. Thank you, everyone, for attending and being here today with us. This is my pleasure to share what the No Better World Foundation stands for and what we are aiming to do, what is our strategy, and what are our first actions. So let me dive directly into the subject, and I'm going to remove the video so you can refocus on the slides. Okay, here we go. Hold on. Yes. So there are a number of goals, sustainable economic goals, development goals set by the World Economic Forum, set by the UN. And there is not one single country that is on track to make the UN's targets for gender equality in 2030, which leads Melinda Gates to say this is our wake-up call to really take action, because this is just not possible, and you'll understand why it's not possible in a minute. So we're discussing here the Equal Measures 2030, which is a pledge that people take to empower women. And our goal with the No Better World Foundation is to empower 100 million women thanks to global partnerships, so that women can really contribute everything they have to contribute that we so much need today. And yet, as you will see, is very limited in its ability to have an impact on our economy and our societies. Today, according to the World Bank, there are 2.7 billion women that are legally restricted to access as many professional opportunities as men. 2.7 billion. We are about 7 billion people on the planet, and 51% of humans are women. So 2.7 is very close to almost all of them. So now, global economic inequalities. 51% of humans are women. 66% of work is performed by women. So women work harder, more than men. And it's a known fact, because when it comes to household work, women are still mostly, very largely, taking care of household work. So between workplace work and household work, 66% of the work done on this planet is done by women, when only 51% of them are women, actually. So there's a discrepancy. But look at this. The work generates an amount of compensation that is split 90% for men, 10% for women. So 66% of the work done in this planet is compensated 10% to women, 90% to men. And then when it comes to owning wealth, 1% goes to women, 99% of global wealth is owned by men. Those are statistics by the UNICEF from 2007. Sorry, I couldn't find anything more recent to us, but in the past 13 years, we've not moved far from the 1% and the 10%. We know that, and you'll see why. If we were bringing women at an equal level of participation as men, if we were closing the gender gap, we would add $12 trillion to the global economy by 2025. And just to give you a point of comparison, the GDP of the United States is about 22 trillion. So it's more than half of the US economy that would be brought by 2025 if we were closing the gender gap. And it would also add about 240 million jobs that would be added to the world labor force by 2025 as well, if we were closing the gender gap. And that's a report, a very serious report by McKinsey that's been conducted over 10 years from 2007 to 2017. So it's something that they done very seriously, that was presented at Davos in 2016. I was there with them. We were presenting different parts. They were presenting their research. I was presenting our research. And so closing the gender gap is, of course, a moral imperative, but it's also an immediate way to add jobs and growth in an economy that's faltering today. So more than ever, it's important to value what women could contribute if we were able to close the gender gap. The power of women in organizations, again, according to McKinsey 10-year report and study, is more ethics when you have a woman at the helm of an organization, more well-being, more collaboration, more innovation, and more performance. So on all the markers that you really care for, ethics, obviously, well-being, collaboration, innovation, and performance, those very hardcore metrics, women show better results. To the point that there was a research that was conducted by the author of the Athena's Doctrine, a young Rubicam advertising executive, in a book published by Josie Pass in 2013. So this recent study showed that among 64,000 people surveyed around the world in 13 nations, 63% of adult men said that the world would be a better place if men thought more like women. So there's definitely something for men to learn that would make a better place, the world a better place. And that's agreed by almost 2 out of 3 men, adult men around the world. So there's a consensus. So there's a consensus. There's a vast majority of men who agree. The numbers are there. The qualitative research are there. So why is it that we can't make it? It would take 208 years to close the gender gap, meaning for women to gain equality with men. 208 years. Why is it that it's so slow when all the indicators clearly show us what to do? Well, based on my experience as a consultant helping global organizations, billion-dollar organization, reinvent themselves, transform, adapt, innovate, very difficult tasks. The one thing that I've experienced, but that's also confirmed by research and experts, is culture. You know, there is this very famous sentence that culture eats strategy every day for breakfast by management guru Peter Drucker, and I've experienced it firsthand. If you do not affect culture, any strategy, even the smartest, will have a very hard time to deliver. I've also seen the opposite. I've seen companies with bad strategy and great culture that have been able to grow actually by 40% over years. That was very interesting, but they were very agile and able to, pivot. So culture is crucial to really bring change and sustain change. The fastest way, the most efficient way to help women today is to help women become the entrepreneurs of their lives. Because if you're the entrepreneur of your life, then you'll be able to come into positions of influence where you won't be encumbered by cultures of corporate organization that are still very patriarchal, very linear, very hierarchical, all the things that need to be reformed in a world that's complex, fast changing, uncertain, and ambiguous. So let's go deeper into why women's entrepreneurship. Because women entrepreneurs survive crises better than men. There's already research that's been produced on this particular crisis that we're going through, and companies led by women have shown more resilience because women tend to be more cautious. Women entrepreneurs give back to their community more than men. And we know that social inclusiveness is an important factor for a stable democracy and economy. Women entrepreneurs protect their employees better than men, which creates for better culture. Women entrepreneurs can create the work culture that fit their values and style, so they can actually bring what they have to bring that's so repressed in organizations. And we'll go deeper into what is it that they can bring. Women entrepreneurs in the US represent the most dynamic segment of the economy. So if you help women entrepreneurs in the United States, you're not only helping them, but you're also helping the economy where it's most and fastest growing. Women entrepreneurs have more positive impact on the environment and society. Women outperform men in continuing education. And we know that today it's a growth mindset, a forever learning mindset that every executive has to adopt in a world that's fast changing and so fast evolving. And then there's also these very clear statistics that among the countries going through the crisis, meaning pretty much every country in the world, the one that have been the best adapting to the crisis and overcoming the crisis seem to be the country leaders, that the country leaders seem to be women. So, I mean, there's probably more to say, but Denmark, Norway, Iceland, New Zealand, Germany, and Taiwan are led by women and have been actually best managing the crisis. So there's really a case for giving women the reins of our corporations and helping them to become the CEOs and to become the entrepreneurs of their companies, because when they are entrepreneurs, they can create really the culture they want. So it's faster than elevating women in the ranks of big corporations. But yet again, globally, women are less likely to be entrepreneurs and face more disadvantages starting businesses, because in 40% of economies, women's early stage entrepreneurial activity is half or less than half of that of men's. So, even if we know that women can bring things to companies, and even if we know that making them entrepreneurs is the fastest way to reform the way we work and the way we create wealth, still they are at a disadvantage. There are less women going into entrepreneurial endeavors than men. So what is our strategy in empowering women to become the entrepreneurs of their lives? Well, the best way to influence culture, which, as we saw, eats strategy every day for breakfast, is to evolve decision-making. There is this great mind, Professor Edgar Schein from the Sloan School of Management at MIT, that has researched culture and leadership. And yes, we know that culture really impacts the ability of an organization to deliver on strategy, but then culture is quite elusive. So the most tangible, practical way that we can study and impact is decision-making to change culture in a way that's not counterculture, but evolving culture. So what we advocate is to help women hone their holistic way of decision-making. Men tend to make decisions in a more linear, direct, efficient way, which delivers results like an arrow hitting the target, whereas women are much more able to take in a context as a whole and make complex decision and solve complex problems. That's been researched. That's also been featured in the HBR of magazine, the Harvard Business Review of issue of November 2013 in a Deloitte study. We advocate that women build a community supported by mentorship, because we know that community is a huge factor of change. We advocate to build partnership with global corporations, so we don't do it alone, and we do it with global corporations that already have big audiences on a global scale, and to ally with a global charitable organization that will enable local reach and also will help finance through grants those women entrepreneurs. And we want to do this around a place of continuous learning. So the currency is really helping women learn, and then having women helping other women learn, and everybody really motivating themselves to learn. Because without education and continuous learning in a fast changing world, if you don't evolve, then you retrograde. So those are the pillars focusing on this on decision making to impact culture, to really make change happen and accelerate and shorten that 208 years window. Build community, because we know that community is essential to support change in an individual and group of people. To build partnership with global corporations to accelerate our impact. To work with global charitable organizations to get the funding to give grants to women, and to really bring everybody around the idea that we all will learn from one another together, and we have to learn in order to sustain ourselves and keep innovating. So the great thing when it comes to women is that women tend to help other women. We help her, she helps all. We care for her, she cares for all. All research and studies have confirmed this. So there is a natural propagation effect that we want to encourage and amplify. Our 4 objectives are to help women in need. So whatever we're going to do with women entrepreneurs, we'll make sure that there is a ripple effect on women who are in need and need to get out of poverty through entrepreneurship, so we can help them contribute to the economy and make for themselves a decent life. So we'll work with the 12 million US women business owners in America that are all represented by an advocacy group called NOBO, and you'll see later it's one of our partners. We'll develop programs with corporate philanthropies, and we'll ally with nonprofit organizations as well. So help women in need for social inclusion, work with the 12 million women business owners in America as the fastest way to make this economy dynamic again. Make sure that we develop programs with corporate philanthropies by giving them our methodology so that they can also spread that throughout their own charitable organizations, and ally with other nonprofit organizations so we can scale with their funding. We developed a proprietary model that brings up women's natural strengths and intuition, and we gave it a framework that gives them confidence to make smart decisions that bring change to their businesses, their lives, and their communities. So it's a holistic approach. We want women to become the entrepreneurs of their lives, which can be expressed through their business, but also in their lives or at their employers. Our proprietary training, really what it does is it validates women's proven ability to make complex decisions. Again, there's research that was conducted that shows that women are better directors, board directors, because they're much more able to make decisions that involve different dimensions: business, society, regulations, industry, compliance, and that makes them better board members because those situations are complex and they're much more equipped to make those complex decisions. So what's true of board members is actually true of anyone today, because as we know, the world's getting more and more complex, and that way of making decisions, that holistic way of making decisions, is actually much more appropriate to the complexity of today's world and disruption. And that's what women can contribute, but that's not well received because it doesn't always fall into this very square matrix of the logical, rational way of making decisions that's so prevalent in organizations. So we empower that way of making decisions because we feel and we know that it is the most efficient way to evolve business and culture. And we do it, as you will see, in a way that's fully inclusive of men. We give up any relationship to gender, whether it's male, female, or others, or whether it's feminine, masculine, or others. And that's what I'm going to share with you in a few minutes. So again, we help women become the entrepreneurs of their lives, which translates in 3 ways. Help them make informed life personal choices based on their personal inner feelings and values, as opposed to the patriarchal model that we've all been growing up in. We help them start or grow their own business for all the reasons we said before. You know, they can create really the company that's tailor-made to their value system, and they can really have an impact because they're creating that from the beginning. But we also help women be intrapreneurs, meaning those who work in organizations where they are employees, to get their voice heard, their contribution taken into consideration, because they will be able to explain the way they make decisions and give the depth and dimensions that they bring along in the way they make decisions. So, three ways: shape your life based on personal choices, create companies to express yourself professionally, and if you work in large organizations, make your voice heard and your way of working understood. So, how do we do this? Well, we created an academy online, which is taking everything that we've done for the past 15 years that has worked at global organizations, and we make it available to the largest number of people online through an e-learning platform. Squircle Academy, a new way of thinking for a new world. And here is the model. Squircle Academy. Squircle is square and circle coming together. The square is the logical mind. It's square, okay? It makes sense. 2 plus 2 equals 4. It's demonstrable. You can demonstrate it. You can prove it. You can put it into formulas. And then there is life, which is circle. And circle flows. Circle is infinite. Circle is creative. Circle is agile, is evolving. But we live in a world where the circle is only accepted if it fits in the square. But as soon as you put the circle in the square, you don't have a circle anymore. You have a restricted circle. And that's the story I'm going to tell you. But before I tell you the story, let's go through a very short experience. I would like you to take a little slip of paper and a pen. It's going to take 3 minutes. Look around you at all the shapes that are angular: rectangle, triangle, straight lines, and write down the words that came to mind as you were looking at them. The same way as you would feel something when you look at a color red or orange or purple, okay? Don't overthink it. Just put down words when you look at those angles, rectangles, triangles, straight lines. I've done this on 5 continents in probably 60 different countries, either in their own countries or with students. And here are the words that always come when it's about rectangular shapes, straight lines, and angles: predictable, stable, safe, dependable, order, linear. All good words, all words that we would like to be able to use more in today's world. Okay, predictable, stable, safe, dependable, order, linear. Great words associated with square. Now, let's do the same thing, but with curves, circular shapes, ovals. Look around you and write down those words that come to mind while you're looking at those shapes: oval, circular, curvy, lines. Well, the words that come to mind usually are inclusive, creative, infinite, welcoming, soft, nonlinear. So as I said before, we all want creativity and we all want stability. We all want, a sense of infinity and possibilities, but you also want, dependability and structure. So we need both. And obviously without creativity, we can't go far with structure alone. But the problem is that we live in a culture where the circle is only tolerated if it makes sense, which of course negates what circle is, because circle is not about making sense. Circle is just about being. So our square culture prevents us from accessing the power of nature in us. Nature is infinite, nature is circular, nature is forever evolving, and we are part of nature. So we are, in many ways, as nature, adaptable, agile, unpredictable and complex, okay? Think of relationships. And all these qualities that are actually very needed today, being agile, creative, and resilient like nature, are restrained because everything we do, and especially decisions we make, have to go through: does it make sense? Can I prove it? How can I put in a formula so I can communicate it in a way that's reliable to people who want me to be able to demonstrate things I feel when I make decisions? So what would happen if we were able to actually not have that posture and allow a circle to be free from the square? So in other words, we could be logical and at the same time fully embracing the infinity, creativity, evolution of the circle. Well, here is the image. As you can see, the more you expand the circle, which is nature, nature is expansive, the circle is expansive, the more there is space for the square to be investigative, to be demonstrating everything it sees and encounters. And you can see there's an expansion. The circle is no longer restrained and the square can grow. And as you can see also in this image, there is depth. You actually can really go within. So when you free the circle from the dominance of the square, you come in contact with your intuition. Suddenly you can feel, suddenly you have access to your body, your sensations, your emotions, and you are actually in touch with your body. And being in touch with your body means you are in touch with nature, its creativity and agility. Let's remember there is no straight line in nature, no straight line. A straight line is a mathematical construct. So when we apply straight squares to what is nature's circle, we put nature in a box and we limit our ability to be agile and creative. So let me take a simple image now. Imagine a bird and its nest. The bird is obviously of nature, wild, adaptable, creative, sustainable, self-reliant. The nest, that's the circle. The nest is its structure, that's the square. The bird goes back to its nest to find shelter, to find calm, to eat, to reproduce. That's the structure. So a bird and a nest are in a balanced relationship between the square and the circle. And obviously, the circle is never limited by the square. The square is in service of circle. But now imagine you want to keep the bird close to you and you turn the nest into a prison, a cage. You put the bird inside the cage. You have both. You have the square and the circle. But the square, the nest, has become now dominant and has restricted the bird. And as we know, a bird in a cage is no longer a wild animal. You have to feed it. It loses its ability to be self-sustaining. It loses its ability to live in nature in a balanced manner and agile and adapt. It's no longer a bird. It's no longer nature. It's an object of decoration. So that's what we've done with our logical mind. We've put ourselves in a cage instead of using science as a tool to be constantly investigative, constantly responsible for our choices. And we've turned science into scientism, a cage within which we have locked ourselves up and limited our ability to access our creativity and agility. So what Squircle does is making people aware of this and provides a framework that you can use so that the decision you make do balance logical, analytical data and facts and information with our responsibility at any given moment to creatively interpret the data, creatively use the logical mind to be more than simply a square, to be alive and forever expansive, to adopt the Squircle mindset. So as you can see, it's very simple, square and circle. A 5-year-old can understand it. I really wanted to break down what I brought to global corporations and CEOs into a way that anybody could understand online in 30 seconds. So the square, just to give you an example, just one example, synthetic plastic. So we had rubber. Through an industrial process and chemistry, we created synthetic plastic, which was completely unrelated from nature. And we've created a cancer of our oceans. And it's a forever growing machine, unfortunately, that's polluting our oceans. It's going really badly. Whereas now we've invented biodegradable plastic, which is really the coming together of nature and science to create something that is well adjusted to our needs and well adjusted to our environment. So the No Better World Foundation is about empowering women to create together an innovative, sustainable future, because if we let them really contribute what they have to contribute through their holistic decision-making process, their capacity for complex problem solving, we'll be able to create Squircle solutions for a better future. We are partnering with the National Association of Women Business Owners, which represent and advocate 10 million women business owners. So we feel like this is a real direct entry point into women who are already in business, who can really make a difference. And we're going to give them training, and we'll ask for their donation to help actually women at Grameen America. We're in conversation with them about this, and we'll find donors that will match the donations of those entrepreneurs. And $1,500 per grant will help one individual move from poverty to becoming an entrepreneur. We're in advanced conversation with a global US brands as they're building their philanthropy to bring the Squawk Academy as their engine to help women entrepreneurs around the world. They already have 22 million women consumers worldwide, and we're going to tap into these women to actually put the word out that we would like to empower women's entrepreneurs, women to become the entrepreneurs of their lives. And through that partnership, will of course accelerate what we can do, what we could not do alone. We are in conversation with an online platform for global distribution of those courses. And we're also approaching a global grant funding foundation to help through grants those entrepreneurs to whom we will give that new way of making decisions through the Squawk Academy. So that's pretty much what we're doing. The impact, of course, is through sponsorship, using women to sponsor other women, through community, bringing everybody together so that they can stick to their commitment to, we help her, she helps all. And then through mentoring, so that we have ways to mentor those women as they go through their process of change. So the opportunity, we want to start small. So we have actually tomorrow, a first small campaign with Nobo, doing an experiment, listening to women, what they need, how we can best bring to them our philosophy and methodology for decision making, and then giving it for free to women against donation and finding a donor that will match a donation so we can actually put together a few grants to help women in poverty move out of poverty through Grameen America. And we will also give this methodology to these women that will be helped through those grants. Once we've done it once, then we can really showcase our success to scale for a global cultural transformation, and this doing it beyond gender, because as you can see, Square and Circle have no reference to male, female, feminine, masculine, but can absolutely include both men and women. But we believe that women are closer to the solution. That's why we want to start with working with them first. And because obviously there is a more imperative to change this economic absolute imbalance. So we think that measure is important. So we're going to use data. And from the very beginning, we'll work with an economist, behavioral scientist, and AI expert to infuse AI in everything we do in this project from the get-go, so that we can measure the evolution in terms of decision-making, risk-taking, and creating a thriving work culture among the women that we work with for personal transformation, team and community transformation, and for organizational experimentation with all these women entrepreneurs or the companies that they will be working at, that they will influence through their voices. Okay, we have a team, okay, working behind the organization. And here are the 4 ways that you could support us. We're not asking for money. Just simply stay connected with us if you think that what we're doing is worthwhile. Take the Squawk test, which we will send you again at the end of this conference. Help us any way you see fit in connecting us with media, influencers, or women who care about women and entrepreneurs, and men as well who care about women and entrepreneurs. And then we need VIP readers to our book. It's a 90-minute read. It will come out mid-June. So we're right in the time when in about 10 days, we'll have advanced copies for VIP readers to read the book and give us their reviews and feedback. And of course, if you want to support our mission financially, we can talk also after this conference. You will soon receive an email with links to each of the points above. You can take the test. Please do take the test so that you can receive a report of 20 pages and kind of learn how you relate to Square and Circle and how you can develop a Squawk attitude in the way you make decisions.